side is bleeding, oh, and your heart's bleeding, and all you can see is red. Till you discover it is within each other to forgive and make amends. If I had known then, or what I know now, I wouldn't have said what I said. I took the long road, thought I'd be better on my own. Sometimes what's right is wrong instead. 'Cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one. And I can't wait to see you again. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. 'Cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one. And I can't wait to see you empty hearts and neon lights.
Here we are 2 weeks later. The last time the 1203 was live, Parker and I were very critical of the Houston Rockets and their, not even the Houston Rockets, but we were very critical of Russell Westbrook and James Harden. We took a week off for Thanksgiving. We enjoyed our breaks. We are enjoying a Wednesday afternoon. Just got done with a busy evening. And the news hits. Russell Westbrook is gone. Parker, how you feeling?
Well, it's not just that he's gone. It's that it was a great trade by Raphael Stone. So here's the setup, guys. Of course, Russell Westbrook, great player, but he wanted out of Houston after small ball did not work. Well, it's evident that the Rockets are getting away from small ball, and they may not be done with this, but they've already started the chips in motion. So a lot has happened since our 2 weeks.
It really has. It has been a busy 2 weeks.
Well, the Rockets have been busy, and there's Texans news I want to talk about a little bit later too. But a lot has happened, and we're not going to forget A&M. We have to talk about A&M.
Texas A&M, we're going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about the Houston Astros a little bit. Got an action-packed show, but I mean.
Anyway, I was just going to finish that whole.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't want to get off that, but I just wanted to kind of preview all that. But yeah, like you were saying, we got a lot to talk about. But going back to the Rockets thing, so they started preparing for this more traditional. It's safe to say Raphael Stone is more of a traditional basketball mind and not so much with the analytics. He's more, okay, you got a big man inside, you've got wing players on the outside that can dish it, and you've got and you have defense and things like that. And Steven Silas, the new Rockets head coach, who was the offensive guru behind the Dallas Mavericks when they were scoring all those points with Luka and Kristaps and all those guys. Steven Silas was the coach was the offensive guy that was behind all that. Rick Carlisle was more defense. Steven Silas was more the offensive to that. So it's all about ball movement. It's more about ball movement, and John Wall definitely brings you that. And you actually have a traditional or a real big man. You have DeMarcus Boogie Cousins, who is still one of the better rebounders in the league. May not stay healthy all the time, but when healthy, is a force down low, can shoot the outside shot. Unlike Clint Capella, could never do that. Clint Capella was just a guy who could dunk, catch lobs, and you got another guy like that in a power forward who's Christian Woods. So you got this Woods guy who's coming in from Detroit who's young. You got DeMarcus Cousins who's old. He's in his 30s, but he's lower 30s, and he's still a force down low. He's a big body, a 7-footer. Christian Woods is almost a 7-footer. You've got two really big guys down low now who are athletic and big and can help the offense out. And then you've got a perimeter guy in John Wall who can get it to him. So John Wall, he can penetrate. He was good in Washington, I thought, with the Washington Wizards, with his running mate Bradley Beal. That team was a solid team. They were never got over the hump, but they challenged some teams, and I thought they did pretty good. I mean, you got to say, it wasn't like Russell Westbrook and OKC by himself was doing much. And the Rockets, we saw they couldn't get past the second round. So this John Wall cat, maybe he's hungry for a ring. He hasn't won one yet. So he's coming to Houston. Who knows what will happen now? The big caveat now, Reed, is that we don't know what will happen with James Harden. If you keep James Harden, you've got a legit starting lineup with Wall at point guard, Harden at shooting guard, and you got PJ Tucker at small forward. So instead of center, PJ Tucker moves up to small forward, because in the small ball lineup, PJ Tucker was legit playing center. Well, they had Robert Covington come in too, but both those guys were playing center. They were super tiny, and it was interesting, but it obviously didn't work against the bigger teams. So you're moving PJ Tucker back to his normal position, which is small forward. You're putting in Christian Woods at the power forward, who's pretty big power forward, athletic guy, can shoot the three too, by the way. And then you have Boogie, who can also shoot the outside shot, but then you put him at center. All of a sudden, you go from one of the smallest teams in the league to you're a pretty big team, and you may slow it down and you may move the ball a little bit more. It's not going to be this full court running gun offense anymore. It's changing into a more traditional basketball offense that the Rockets haven't had in a long, long time. So if you're a Rockets fan and you're complaining about the three-pointers and you're complaining about the small ball and just running up and down and just throwing up threes and not really having any rhythm to your offense, it's going to start to change. It's going to look a little bit different. It's going to look like a real half-court NBA basketball team. So if you want to change, you got it, Rockets fans. So whether you're excited or not excited about the change, you can't complain, because Houston's gotten rid of their coach. They got rid of Westbrook, who was running gun, who was Harden's buddy. They're probably going to get rid of Harden at some point. We don't know that. I don't know what the future untold, but there is change in Houston, and that's what people wanted. That's what people were crying for. So people got what they wanted. So we'll see how it goes.
For those of you absolutely clueless, as we jumped right into it in today's show, you wanted to hit it while the iron was hot. Not even an hour. It might have been an hour now, but not even an hour ago from the show started, the news hit that John Wall was headed to the Houston Rockets. Russell Westbrook is headed to Washington. The trade's official is Russell Westbrook for John Wall and a first-round pick. So the Rockets, much like their NFL counterparts across town, lose a first-round pick in the deal. But you land John Wall, one of the most consistent and most explosive point guards in the league. He's different. He's different than.
No, you get a first-round pick. Did you say they lost one?
I thought they lost one.
No, they got one.
I guess I read it wrong.
They traded Russell Westbrook for John Wall in a 2023 first-round draft.
That's on me. I read it wrong.
This is
makes the deal even better.
This is a good move for the Houston Rockets. Yes,
I'm on board. I did not realize that.
Rockets. Yeah. So just to clarify, it was a 2023 first-round pick. I'm just talking. I was looking in because I've been as soon as it happened, my phone blows up. Anything Houston, my phone blows up. So it's not like it's not your bad or anything. It's just when it comes to like Houston Rockets, Texans, or whatever, everyone already sends me the stuff, so I get it pretty much automatically. But yeah, no, it was the Rockets getting a first round pick, and They get because if you remember correctly, you probably don't, but in the Chris Paul trade a while back, which seems like a lot years ago, they lost a lot of first round picks in that deal. They really Houston's been out of first round picks for a while now, so they're starting to stack back up on first rounders, which is great for the Houston Rockets. So all in all, a great move. Now it is 2023, so it is a little bit of ways, but if you're starting to shape this Raphael Stone Rockets, which is a lot different than the Daryl Morey Rockets, which Daryl Morey's doing his thing in Philadelphia. That's fine. I wish him the best. But the small ball analytics, 3-point shooting just didn't work. And I don't think it will work in Philadelphia, but we'll see. Raphael Stone, this guy's going back to traditional basketball. So we'll see if that's what the Rockets wanted, then they've got a great head start on that with John Wall and Boogie Cousins, and we'll see how these other guys fit in, but it's going to be fun to watch.
It's funny how much a team can change in one off season, right?
Basketball for sure.
Basketball for sure. I mean, you're only running 5 guys out there as your starting crew, so that starting crew can change a lot quickly. Obviously, the Houston Rockets have done quite a bit of that. Didn't they just add Gerald Green not too long ago?
Well, Gerald Green, yeah, he's been on and off. He wasn't on the team. Well, I think he was on the team to start last year, but then he ended up fading off. And he's a Houston guy, by the way. He's from Houston, so he's been around the Rockets, but he didn't quite make the team last year or didn't stay with the team. He wasn't in the bubble. They get him back in the team, and he's a good wing player. He'll come off the bench. He'll be like a 9-10 guy in the rotation. He'll be further back in the rotation. But then you've got a potential 6th man of the year candidate. Well, the reason I have him up here, I have John Wall and Daniel House. Let's see if I can get this right. Yeah, Daniel
He's a
House
former Aggie.
He's a former Aggie.
Gig him.
Bro. He balls out for Houston. He's from the Houston area too, so he went to A&M, but he's a Houston guy through and through, just like Gerald Green. But I mean, Daniel House is actually a lot better than Daryl Green. Daryl Green. So Gerald Green. So yeah, he will do great for the Rockets. I'm glad they got him back because he was out because there was a lot of things in the bubble that he was out with. He actually funny story in the bubble, if you guys don't know this, but if you're a Houston guy, you know, if you're a Houston Rockets fan, you know this, but some of you guys may not know this, but Daniel House got kicked out of the bubble because he invited some females back to his, or maybe it was just one female, I don't know, but the rumor is that there was some girls he invited back to his hotel room. And you're not supposed to do that if you're in like the bubble was supposed to be on lockdown. You're not supposed to have family in there. You're not supposed to have anybody in there. Well, it actually ended up ruining his marriage a little bit too, because it wasn't even his wife that he invited back. It was a different female. But NBA Twitter was going nuts over that. But now Daniel House says he regrets his decision. He's trying to focus back on his family and basketball and get his head on straight. He really did screw the Rockets last year. Not saying they would have beaten the Lakers, but the small ball for the Rockets, it was so important for everybody to pitch in because there was no big body. So everybody was pitching in every night to help with rebounding and all that other stuff. So when Daniel House was out of the lineup last year, it really hurt the Rockets. So now that he's back, it was a stupid decision that he made, but he's back now, and I'm really happy for him and Gerald Green getting these guys coming back. They're Houston guys, so we'll see how they can do. But yeah, he was a big piece. He's a potential 6th man of the year type guy. That's how good Daniel House is. I mean, I put him up there with Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams and those type of guys.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? John Wall's a Rocket. You get the first round pick. Russell Westbrook, after 1 year, is out the window. Third point guard. Third, an influential point guard to come through, John Wall. What makes it, tell me, Parker, why is it going to be different this time?
Well, kind of how I said it was going to be different is there's going to be, Steven Salas has actually went on the record saying that he doesn't want to play ISO ball, dribble, shoot up threes, which is all Harden did. Harden was Mr. ISO. Was damn good at it. Don't get me wrong. He won an MVP award, and he almost won 2 or 3 MVP awards. I mean, he was in the running for about 3 of them. So I'm not saying it wasn't effective, But in the playoffs, you have to have some kind of ball movement. You can't be as predictable. I mean, Steve Kerr made a joke. Yeah. He's like, us and the Rockets are a lot alike, except, where they run high ISO pick and roll, we run about 50 other plays off of that. And it was just kind of a sly comment. But it was an interview with Steve Kerr, and it was like, ooh, shots fired at D'Antoni and his offense. But yeah, the Warriors and the Rockets, when you looked at them on paper and the way they scored, man, these teams are pretty good. But then you watch what they did. The Rockets were so reliant on their three-pointers came from ISO ball with Harden, kick it out at the last second, someone shoot the three, and it worked. I mean, they were winning with that. And Chris Paul was also another example of that. They would ISO Chris Paul, ISO James Harden, and they would kick it out. That's all they would do, though. You just ISO, pick and roll, ISO. That was it. Then you look at a team like the Warriors, the Spurs, and the Mavericks, and all the other Western Conference teams that actually move the basketball, and you see how fluent their offense is. It's night and day. It's night and day. And so that's why I think Houston fans are kind of tired of Harden. And it was fun while it lasted, but if he gets out, then we can really reshape the offense. I'm not saying they're going to win a championship or anything like that, because you still have to probably, if you get rid of Harden, you have to get someone who's willing to buy in. And if Harden can buy in, then I would say maybe let's see if we can do this for Houston. But if Harden doesn't buy in, then you better get someone damn good for him, which Raphael Stone, he's not just trading these guys away. He's making sure he gets something in return, because these guys are still under contract. Russell Westbrook was under contract. I mean, the Rockets had him locked up. So they traded him for John Wall and a first-round pick. I expect the same type of trade to get rid of James Harden, if not more. I mean, you're either going to get a shit ton of picks and players, or you're going to get one or two really good players, or you're going to get a superstar player, one superstar player for another superstar player. So it's not just going to be a DeAndre Hopkins type trade where you just get rid of him and hope you get something good in return.
Which you don't.
This GM seems to have a better he's not scared. When the players are complaining about wanting out, he's like, tough cookies. We're keeping you until we get something we want. We're not letting now the Spurs were victim of this too when they traded Kawhi to Toronto and got DeMar DeRozan back, and I don't know who else they got back. But the Spurs, they were just trying to get rid of Kawhi because Kawhi wanted out.
Well, Kawhi wasn't gonna put on a Spurs uniform again. So at that point, you had to get what you could,
and they had to get rid of him. But at the same time, they could have gotten more, in my opinion, in return for Kawhi. But whatever. That's the past. We'll see how the Spurs. They've been.
I think DeMar DeRozan's a much more valuable commodity than David Johnson, but we're not going to get into it.
They've been struggling a lot more since that trade than they probably would have hoped. But we'll see how the Spurs do now. They've got some younger guys coming
They're young,
up, but they're definitely
not in rebuild mode, but they're definitely kind of trying to figure out what works.
But anyway, it's in that same mold. It's in that same mold, in my opinion. We can debate. That's a different debate if you want to go down that rabbit hole.
Nah, not today.
I think
I'm not prepared to defend that today.
Yeah, because you can't. But anyway,
I bet I could, but not today.
No, you couldn't. But that was a bad trade. Getting rid of Kawhi like that and sending to Kawhi, the Rosen didn't do much for y'all. But you thought he would be more, but he wasn't. But anyway, back to the Rockets. Yeah,
just move on before I have to argue with you.
You got something out of it, is what I'm saying. The Rockets got something out of that trade. The Spurs did not, is what I'm saying. So you got to hold your water. Even if a player wants out, tough shit. You make something out of it. You make it happen. You get something in return, which is what the Rockets did. And what they're going to have to do for James Harden if he wants to
and that's what I want.
If he wants out.
That's what
he really wants out. At the end of the day, these guys want to play basketball. I mean, I even think Kawhi wanted to play. I mean, I think at some point you see all your other friends out there playing basketball. You want to play and you want to be part of the greatest. It's the NBA. You don't get any competition like it. So at the end of the day, I think these guys do want to play, and I think you as a GM, you can hold that against those guys because it's a fun. You sit out a couple games and you're like, damn, I kind of miss it. It's part of sports. It's part of that competitive nature. But these guys are different now. I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned how the offense has changed. Now, whether he's gone or not aside, because he could be gone, he could be staying.
So
we
far,
don't
thought
know.
he was.
We don't know.
We thought he was gone 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's still here. So we don't know.
With this
We'll
new
see.
offense, can James Harden still be the key
Without a
feature?
doubt.
You think so?
He was the 6th man in OKC, and he was still really darn good. So, yeah, I do. I think that. I mean, you guys need to go back to the old James Harden, the OKC years, where he was playing with Kevin Durant, who was so, dude, he had Kevin Durant ahead of him. He had Russell Westbrook ahead of him. James Harden was an afterthought on that team.
He really was.
He
really
still
was.
balled out. He still balled out. Dude, James Harden didn't become the James Harden we knew and loved until after he left OKC. But the dude was still pretty darn good in OKC. So if he can even channel if he can channel just what he was in OKC plus the new experience he's gained, then yeah, I think he can ball out. I think he has to realize something that I think at the end of the day, James Harden does really want to win because there's a thing about James Harden that gets a lot of like his effort is one thing, and I guess his defense or whatever. But there comes down to I think a point in time where he does talk to other players, and he does get in their face, and he does like as you see him go back and forth with other players. You can tell he definitely doesn't want to be one of those guys that's an afterthought. He doesn't want to be like a great player that's never won a ring. Because right now, James Harden, if he continues, he's going to be one of the greatest players to never win a ring.
One of the greatest regular season players.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say. Because
it's not like his numbers were trash in the playoffs. I mean, he still had some pretty good numbers.
Well, no, but he didn't win. At the end of the day, he didn't win.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to say. At the end of the day,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Reed. If you don't win a ring, you can't win. I said he's one of the greatest players without a ring.
Yeah, that's true. I agreed with that. But
you said in the regular season. I said, well, that doesn't matter. You're still. That's what I'm saying. You're a greatest.
You really
player.
want to argue today, don't you? You're just looking for a fight.
No, I think you are. You're wrong. You're 0 for 2.
Don't think so. Anyway, what I wanted to say is I don't think you can find a better scorer than James Harden right now. So whether he's going to choke in the playoffs or not, you might as well keep him around, especially if you have him on contract.
Well, he's one of the best scorers in the game. Yeah, I think without a doubt. I think look at who he's lost to. He's lost to the
Lakers and the Warriors.
Let's go. I'll name these teams. Lakers, Spurs,
Warriors.
And Warriors. Those were all better teams than the Rockets record-wise. So are you really choking if you're losing to a team with a better record? I don't know.
When you get to the playoffs, when you get to the playoffs as often as he has, consistently over and over and over again, at some point,
the 1 year, there was 2 significant moments where he choked.
At some point, it becomes he can't win in the playoffs.
The Spurs game 6 where he just completely choked. Kawhi wasn't there, and then you talk about the Chris Paul era without Chris Paul was bad. When Chris Paul went down and you were still up 3-2, and the Rockets were the better team that year. So, yeah, I agree with that. He definitely choked. He's choked before, but he still made the conference finals. To say he didn't have a good playoff run, I mean, and the Warriors did end up winning the whole thing. So, yeah, well, I don't know. It's hard to really get too mad about that. That Warriors team was still pretty darn good.
I mean, I agree, but at the same time, you can sugarcoat it all you want. He still choked in the playoffs, but anyway, let's move on to the NFL.
Yes.
Houston Texans, let's start with them. There's not a whole lot to talk about with the Cowboys. Same old crap, just underachieving. Everybody's hurt. Anyway, there's some big news.
The Texans have won 2 games. I
was going to say, is some big news out of Texans camp. The Texans were finally starting to look a little bit better, and then they get smacked.
I know, and I was going to come on here and brag in your face about it.
And then they get absolutely slaughtered.
Because the Texans were still, the Texans legit had a chance to go 8-8, 9-7. I think. If
they would have had to win out, but you're right. They did have a chance.
Yes, but look at their schedule. They have the Colts twice. They probably split that, so that would have been 8 wins. But they can beat the Titans in Houston. They almost beat them in Tennessee. That game went to overtime. So the rest of the Texans' schedule, I was looking at this. I actually think they could have won out. Of course, this is all hypothetical now that Will Fuller's out. And by the way,
and Bradley Roby. Did you see that?
Well, Bradley Roby,
he's your best corner.
He wasn't doing that good for us. But anyway.
Didn't y'all just lose another corner too? Didn't y'all lose a corner to injury? Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas, yeah.
I know he's not a key corner.
I wouldn't say he's that up. Bradley Roby definitely will be missed. but he has made some he's made some bonehead decisions recently on the field, just nitpicking. But yeah, you're right. He is good. Missing the Thomas guy won't be as bad as Bradley Roby.
No, but
yeah, but what I'm saying is, before the season started, we were talking about Will Fuller, right? I was saying, I wasn't saying he's like he was a number one like DeAndre Hopkins, but I was talking pretty highly on Will Fuller. I said this Texans offense is so much more dangerous when Will Fuller's on the field, and it showed the last 2 weeks. Will Fuller has been balling recently, dude.
171 receiving yards last week.
I guess it makes sense why, but his numbers have been just crazy. So he's been getting free. They've been using him a lot better. That Detroit game was just, that was crazy. We were just getting anything we wanted in the Detroit game. But without him, it's gonna be a little bit hard. But I just wanted to give a shout out to him up to this point. And DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson, by the way, just tweeted out or said something that he was like, "Oh yeah, we gotta keep Fuller. Even next year. I know he misses, so it's gonna be a 6-game suspension. So he's gonna miss the first game of next season. But Watson says it doesn't matter. He wants to keep Will Fuller locked up. And if you're looking, I think, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games left. I legit thought that beating the Colts twice would have been hard, but I think you could beat one of them.
I agree with that.
But then I legit thought you could win.
You could definitely beat Cincinnati.
I think you could beat the Bears. I think you could beat Cincinnati.
That'd be a good game. Chicago would be a good game.
I think you could beat since we've already lost to Tennessee and Tennessee barely. I think you win that game against Tennessee, the last game of the season. So you're looking at 8-8. Almost 9-7 after this whole crap fest of a year. But now it's going to be hard to find where that extra push comes from, where that offense comes from. Now Watson's been playing out of his mind too.
He's really has.
One of the best. These past 4 or 5 games, Watson's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. It's just it's what we were wanting to start the season, but we didn't get because of all the crap with Bill O'Brien. But that Watson, he can keep you in games, and that's the one thing about the Texans is you have a guy like Watson out there. You always feel like you have a chance to win, no matter how shitty the rest of the things are going. So, the Texans are looking different because I think, believe it or not, Duke Johnson, the running back for them,
he's been pretty solid.
Not David.
Not
Johnson,
David. Not
Duke
the guy
Johnson.
you gave up number 1 receiver in the league for.
Duke.
Former Cleveland Brown.
Duke Johnson. That dude is balling. He caught a touchdown pass from Deshaun Watson he's a great receiving back, and he's a pretty good little scat back. He's not like a power back.
He's been in the league a long time, hasn't he?
I wouldn't say he's been around.
I know he started his career in Cleveland.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a full speedster, and I wouldn't say he's a power back, but he reminds me of kind of like, on Madden, you can kind of get that scat back setting or whatever. That's what he reminds me of. A guy who just kind of just finds the hole and gets yardage when he can, and he's not going to try to get yardage that's not there. He's not going to make amazing plays. He's not going to make a lot of guys miss, but he's going to get that yardage you need for first downs. And he's he's a really good receiving back out of the backfield. That's like his main thing. So I really like how they're using Duke, and they're spreading out the receivers more, and they're letting Watson, instead of relying on David Johnson, which is what Bill O'Brien wanted to do. That was his mission, right? Bill O'Brien. That's the reason he got, because he wanted that run, play action style offense. Well, Deshaun Watson may not be good with play action. Maybe you should actually just let this guy go. Put him in shotgun, spread the receivers out, and fling that sucker. Let him go. Design plays where Watson can get out of the pocket, throw some stuff downfield, get him on the move, and unleash the true offense, because they do have some speedsters on offense, but now you have one less speedster, so it's going to be a little bit harder.
So you wanted to see that Brett Favre Green Bay Packers 1996 offense. That's what you want. Just open the field, let him throw it. The funny thing about Duke Johnson, dude, he has never in his career rushed for more yards than he received. Isn't that crazy? He in his career,
he's a receiver.
He has always had more receiving yards as a running back. So he played 4 years at Cleveland. He was drafted in 2015, and then
that's his thing, man.
Yeah, he's been in Houston the past 2 years.
He reminds me of what's that guy they had
Last year, he had the same amount of rushing yards as receiving yards at 410. That was the only
he's
year.
kind of like a little. Well, I wasn't gonna say Danny Woodhead or the Rex Burkhead type guys, but he reminds me a little bit of.
Rex is a goal line.
They had Shane Vereen. I don't know if you remember him.
I remember Shane Vereen.
Yeah. Shane Vereen. He was a good receiving back in New England, and I really liked him.
Well, New England.
He was always getting check downs from Brady. Like he was piling up those check downs. So if you have a PPR league in fantasy, Duke Johnson's one of your guys. He'll slowly get you about 15, 20 points a game if you have him on your team.
Especially with David Johnson constantly on and off the field. I mean, that kid.
Well, David Johnson's been hurt for
he can't,
a while.
Yeah, he can't. He can't. He's always been hurt, man. Ever
field.
Since that one year that made him really good and increased his value, I don't think he's finished 4 games in a row. I mean,
they've been better without him. So it's like their offense is better with Deshaun Watson having the ball. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk Deshaun Watson is better than, any kind of running game you have? Unless you have like a super good running back, I would build.
Unless you have McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley.
I would build my offense around Watson unless you have one of those top running backs. Other than that, you got to go with Watson. You got to sling it, man.
I 100% agree, and you mentioned Will Fuller. I'm going to say the same thing about Will Fuller now as I said going into the year. He's not a number 1 guy, but he is one of the best deep threat guys in the league. I mean, he reminds me. He can just take the top off of an offense, of a defense. You just send him deep, and he's kind of the guy that's like, man, we need a big play here. Will, go run like a post route, 20 yards downfield. Deshaun's going to scramble around in the backfield, and he's going to chunk it up to you, and you're going to make a 40-yard touchdown catch. And this offense is going to miss that. I don't know if Brandon Cooks can provide that for you.
Even when
and he's going to be real important. Brandon Cooks is.
This goes back to when they had Hopkins. They had a legit number 1 guy.
Exactly.
And the offense still didn't look good without. Dude, I'm telling you, bro. He may not be a number 1 guy. He may not be a number 1 guy, but he's more important than a number 1 guy.
He can be. He 100% can be.
I'm witnessing. I witnessed it. I mean, the Texans had Hopkins last year, and there were games where Fuller was out, and the Texans did not look good. Hopkins they would try to force it to him, but he doesn't necessarily take the top off of defenses. See, Will Fuller, Tyreek Hill, those type of guys that Hollywood Brown for the Ravens.
I think Tyreek Hill's the number 1 receiver, but that's
I don't know. I mean, I'm not comparing him to Tyreek Hill's complete.
But
package,
I get what you're saying. Yes,
but a guy with that speed.
Yeah.
I mean, Will Fuller has that type of speed. I mean, he's a dude that can bust out. Hollywood Brown's another guy.
Michael Gallup.
I saw on the Ravens game. Yes.
Gallup does the same thing for Amari Cooper in Dallas.
Yeah. Gallup. Without Gallup, the offense in Dallas would look completely.
Of course, then you add Dede in there, and it's a completely other monster. But anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. It's an important piece. It may not be a number 1, but he's that value I was trying to stress about him in Houston is huge. We really do like our Will Fuller. So it's every time he went out, it was like, we don't know, man. The offense, it's just not that big play's not there. But Cooks is fast. Don't get me wrong. But they also lost Kenny Stills due to they just pretty much cut him. He just wasn't a good fit. But
yeah.
He wasn't a good.
So who are your receivers now? Basically. Cooks, Randall Cobb. Who are the rest? Does that one Kiki Kuti, is he still there?
Kuti's still there.
Yeah, former Red Raider.
Kuti.
I don't know. I mean, Brandon Cooks has been
there.
really good at points in his career, especially when he was in New England. But it's again, Brandon Cooks reminds me of a little bit better version of Tavon Austin. Like he's there because he's fast, and I think Brandon Cooks is a little bit better inside route runner than Tavon Austin was. I mean, Tavon Austin was kind of a one-trick pony. You either threw him a slant, you ran him on the sweep, or he was a punt returner. Yeah. I think Brandon Cooks is a much more of a receiver than that, but can he fill that void of not having? I mean, now you really don't have a number 1. I mean, in the situation that you had, Will Fuller was your number 1, and he was able to, you always had to have someone over top of him, which means you could have 2 guys covered him, because if he gets behind that cornerback, now you don't have that anymore. So now, I mean, Randall Cobb, I love Randall Cobb. He's not going to take the top off, and he's a slot guy. Brandon Cooks can maybe do it, but I don't think he's got that type. I mean, he had what 1, 2, 3. Like had 4,000-yard receiving seasons, so I guess he's capable of it. But I don't know. We will see. It'll be interesting to watch to see how that offense develops and see if Deshaun can once again make up for what his team lacks, because that kind of has been the story of his career up to this point.
Yeah. Who was the other one? So Akins and Darren Fells.
Fells has been good
tight end for us. But no, you don't have those guys anymore, man. That's the thing, is you don't have the Randall Cobb, a lot of pressure falls on Cobb and Cooks to spread it out. It's going to be a lot of those short. It's not going to be as deadly as we want it to be now. But yeah, just as the Texans start pulling off some wins, not that this season was going to be anything because you probably still missed the playoffs. Because let's talk about this. Let's talk this for not that long, but the AFC has really surprised me. Normally, I would think the NFC would have all the top teams, but damn, dude, the AFC is stacked. Every single division leader in the AFC, I could make a legitimate argument they could win the Super Bowl. Legitimate. You've got the Titans, studs. You got the Steelers.
My Cowboys are out of it. I'm pulling for the Titans, man. Straight up.
The Titans.
I love Tannehill. Sure, I love Derrick Henry. I love the way he plays. I'm on the Titans board.
Yeah, you got the Chiefs and you got the Steelers, and in the East you got the Buffalo Bills. Damn, son.
Another sneaky team.
The AFC is balling out for the first time.
Hell, even the Miami Dolphins are playing way better than they should be. 7-4.
Normally we say that about the NFC, but I think the AFC this year has just been. The Steelers won again today. They played a Wednesday night game. 11-0,
man. TJ Watt is on another level. And it's funny because Pro Fantasy Football Focus, they did a thing where they pulled up the defensive ratings. It was the top 3. It was a Twitter thing, and they had TJ Watt at the top. I believe Khalil Mack was number 2. And DeMarcus Lawrence was number 3, which was kind of surprising. But, I mean, he doesn't have the sacks numbers, but he's still so valuable on that D-line. But, yeah, they had
predictions.
We'll have to do that. But I want to talk about this first. They had TJ Watt's picture as number 1, but they had him as JJ Watt. It was like, come on, man. Put some respect on the guy. Like,
yeah,
I know that, like,
still playing second fiddle. I see,
but I mean, they're such different players. JJ Watt was this giant behemoth freak. TJ
Watt again though. He had another pick 6 on Thanksgiving.
Ah man, that was so much fun. I love JJ.
Still got it.
Hey, you know, I will. JJ reminds me so much of Bob Lilly. And Bob Lilly's like my favorite football player of all time.
That's a good comparison. He's a throwback.
He's more explosive than Bob Lilly was, but
because you don't think of explosion but he is a throwback blue collar workhorse like
he
Bob
is, Lilly. And that's why I love TJ Watt. So I bet people weren't expecting a Bob Lilly name drop.
No, that was. But hey, I got to be honest, Reed. Anytime Thanksgiving comes around, and well, first off, the Cowboys lose on Thanksgiving. That's always something I look forward to. That's
I was expected. They're terrible this year.
This year was more expected. Last year, I think it was to the Bills. I don't think it was as expected, but it was still expected, I guess. But the Bills were pretty good last year too, but they weren't as good as this year. And then the Texans. I mean, every 4 years the Texans play. It feels like it's actually every 8 years, I think, or I don't know. But they played the Lions on Thanksgiving in 2012, so it has been 8 years. 8 years ago. They played the Lions on Thanksgiving, and they won because of that stupid challenge call by their coach. But then they won again against the Lions. I did not expect them to win as big as they did. They really just started rubbing it in. They started doing trick plays and shit on national TV on Thanksgiving. They started doing like backyard trick plays against these guys. They really ran up the score. I was impressed.
Well, the Lions would do it if they were up. Let's be honest. And they fired Matt Patricia,
it's not
too.
Something, Bill O'Brien would never do that. He's way too conservative. But I'm liking this Romeo Crennel Texans team. He got nothing to lose, dude. The dude's like 72, 73. He's like,
He knows this ain't going to be his team at the end of the year, so why not have some fun with it while it lasts? It'll be interesting. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to follow is that head coaching search in the offseason. Because I think I have a feeling that guys like J.J. Watt.
I still want the offensive coordinator from the Chiefs, Bieniemy. But
it's a good one. 10-1. Kansas City Chiefs.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. I think he would be great. I mean, if he wants to be a head coach somewhere and he wants to have a quarterback that's in the same mold as Mahomes, I feel like the Texans would be a good spot for him. He could mold Watson until what he wanted to do, and then Watson and Mahomes could battle it out for the AFC for years to come. I'm just saying it would be great, but that's my Texans pipe dream right there.
Pipe dream. Who knows if it'll ever happen, but I don't know.
Hey, it could happen.
He
could come to the Texans. Legit could come. I'm just the part about him battling Mahomes for the AFC was the part
the pipe dream. Hey, that would be a lot of fun to watch, though.
This is Mahomes' world. We're just living in it, boys.
It really is, man. He makes it look so easy. He's just like
too good, man.
He just floats around the field.
Cheat code on fantasy.
Throws blindsided 50-yard home Hail Marys. Hits Tyreek Hill right in the hands.
I have him and Tyreek Hill. on the same team, bro.
That's cheating.
That's a cheat code in my other league.
That's
In my other
cheating.
league, not the league I'm sucking in.
Speaking
but my
of-
other league, I
Speaking
don't even want
of,
to talk about that league, the Graph League. Yeah, talking about the other league, the league I can cheat code everything.
hey, I was down and out of it. I just got a win over the Rough Owls. Boy, I went from like third to last to like fourth. Top 4 teams make the playoffs. I'm in the running,
Yeah,
man.
you might make the playoffs, bro.
I'm in the running. I'm interested to see how that goes. Ryan and I made an interesting trade last week. It's worked out better for me than it has for him, but
I'm in the playoffs in the other league. The other league, we have a championship, like a wrestling belt. So hopefully I get that. I don't think I'm going to get the Graph League trophy.
Josh Reddick almost made me cry yesterday.
Yeah, it was
Didn't-
man. He's
Hit me
one of those
right in the
guys-
feels, man. Right in the
He's
feels.
one of those guys I just like on a personal. I feel like I would hang out because he likes Dragon Ball Z. He's just a good old country Southern boy. I mean, I feel like I could hang out with that guy. I could get him in the truck. We could go mudding, drink some beers. I don't even do a lot of that stuff normally, but I would do it with him. I would embrace my inner redneck with Josh Reddick, and I feel like I would have a good ass time doing it. Go fishing. I mean, the dude would be a good guy to hang out with. But yeah, no longer on the Astros. That, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I
it's
don't
been
know, man.
official for a while now, but he
It's
kind
been
of
official, but
he
it's
kind
just
of
sad.
addressed it personally. He said, I think he wrote on his Instagram. He said, "Thank you to the Astros, my
He said he wants to
teammates."
come back.
Yeah, I mean, of course he does. He said, "Houston will always be special to me, from winning a World Series to getting engaged and starting a family. I love playing here, and he looks forward to doing it again." Let's be honest.
Well, so yeah,
he's
the
not.
look
He's
forward
not.
to doing it again gets me because not every player. He didn't have to say that.
No. And
but he did.
here, let's be honest. He's not coming back. He just doesn't fit what the Astros are trying to do. They already have so many lefty bats. I'd be shocked if they were going to bring in a lefty bat. I think they'd go for a Jackie Bradley Jr. I don't. Marcelo Ozuna might be a right-handed hitter, but I just don't think Josh Reddick fits what the Astros want right now. But very sad, kind of sad to see him leave. He was such a big part of that run there from 2016 on. He's there the past 4 years, $52 million deal. Made plenty of money, had 2 kids there. The famous Speedo pick, can't forget about that. Should have made that my background, man. Maybe next week in honor of Josh Reddick. But that was sad news, man. It really hit home how different next season's going to be. Josh Reddick's going to be gone. George Springer's gone. Michael Brantley might be gone. I still think the Astros could bring him back, and it seems like they want to bring him back, Michael Brantley. I think bringing Michael Brantley as a left-handed bat, bringing him back makes a lot more sense than a Josh Reddick. Because the biggest reason you kept Josh Reddick was because he didn't strike out. He got on base. Well, Michael Brantley's literally like the CEO of putting together good at-bats and getting on base. So I other than maybe the defense, you'd miss out. But I think Michael Brantley can play up enough to cover losing that defense. So I'd rather put that money into a Michael Brantley, whose offensive potential is a lot higher than Josh Reddick. Another thing I did want to mention, though, about the MLB free agency, the Cubs made some interesting moves. So they essentially let Kyle Schwarber and Albert Almora. I can't remember if it's Alberto or Albert, but he's a big prospect coming up. Never really, he kind of has been a Jake Marisnick type in the major leagues. Let both of them go, right? I think either of those guys make sense in Houston. I think Albert Almora is the type of guy that he just needs a scenery change to really develop into the 5-tool player that he is. And I think you'd be able to get him for a little bit cheaper. So I'd love to see Alberto Almora in a Houston Astros uniform. Maybe not as the everyday outfielder, maybe as a fourth outfielder. I'm still on the Miles Straw everyday player watch, but I don't know if that's going to happen. That's kind of a pipe dream. But I'd love Alberto Almora in Houston. I mean, the guy has hit, let's see, I'm pulling up his stats. He hit 277 as a rookie in 2016, hit 298, 286. Last year he hit 230. Hit 12 homers last year. Not a big homer guy. That was in 130 games played, so not a big power guy. Big on base. Great defensively. He'd be an interesting one. Kyle Schwarber, on the other hand, would be an interesting pickup. Can play first base, can play the outfield. You can DH him. I don't think he's coming to Houston solely because we already have a guy named Yordan Alvarez who does pretty much the same role except for better. Man,
Hey, don't forget about Yordan.
I can't wait to have Yordan back on the field, man. That's going to be a blast. But just interesting couple of moves by Chicago I really wanted to talk about. They're apparently trying to trade Chris Bryant. Wow.
What are they doing in Chicago? Because they won their division last year, if I'm looking correctly.
And they have Yu Darvish, who finally turned into the ace he's supposed to be.
So I guess are they just? I mean, they won their division. And
it's probably money issues.
I know that they lose in the. They must have lost really early in the playoffs because I don't remember them doing much in the playoffs at all.
No, I don't think they did
made
either.
The playoffs, I guess, but they must have lost like immediately.
Why get rid of Chris Bryant?
So yeah, I don't know. That's weird. They did win the division, but I don't remember them much about them last year. But yeah, they're still a good squad. It's weird they're getting rid of all these guys or they're letting these guys go. I don't know. I still thought the Cubs were like, on the rise. I really did. But we'll see what they do.
Chris Bryant's a former MVP. You know, and I think he's had a down year or two, but I mean, he's best friends with all the guys there. He's a pretty boy, I mean, he's like perfect to be like face of the franchise, Texas kid, big, hits majestic homers, 400,000 feet. What is he like 20? He's 28. Signed me like a 5-year deal. You have one of the best power hitters in the league locked in. I don't understand why they're trying to push him out of town. It's
That's weird.
Last year he hit 280. He hit 280 in 2019, not in 2020. He hit 280 with 30 homers, 77 RBIs as a 27-year-old.
It doesn't seem like you'd want to put the I don't know, baseball's weird. There's a lot of guys, but it seems like they're putting the trying to restart things. But I don't know why you'd want to restart things. The Cubs were still really competitive.
No, you got Javier Baez is one of the best players in the league, anchoring down the lineup. Wilson Contreras is an awesome catcher. Chris Bryant.
I thought you'd want to double down and try to win.
Double down. Maybe it's money things. I don't know. I know Chicago's not the biggest market. I mean, as far as they're a decent market, but it's
their history.
The Cubs
there,
themselves.
But yeah, the history of the Cubs is great, but the market is probably gone down some. I would imagine in Chicago for sure.
Oh, because the Bulls just aren't what they used to be.
None of the sports are what you thought. I mean, the Bears.
White Sox are on the coming up.
The White Sox are probably going to be the future of Chicago.
Oh, they got that Luis Robert kid, man. He's electric.
And that would be good for the South Side.
Freakishly large human being.
Props to the South Side. I'm all for the South Side. South Side.
South Side. Let's talk about an interesting development in college football.
Yes. By the way, I'm all for it. I don't understand, but I don't understand the hate the Aggies get.
Texas A&M currently sits at 5th.
They get so much hate
in the NCAA rankings. They've got wins over number 4 ranked Florida. They've got wins over LSU, and I know LSU's down this year, but you still got to win over LSU. They are currently ranked 5th behind Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Clemson. Florida sitting at 6th. How do you rank
them behind Ohio State?
I think Ohio State's got Justin Fields. They're also 4-0. I know they haven't.
How many games have they played, though? 4-0.
They're 4-0. I think they've had a lot of.
They should be.
The Aggies missed like 3 weeks, though. So
I know. I get it. But as a whole, it's really hard for me to put a team 4-0 over a team who's played as many games as the Aggies have played. I don't know. I feel like you got to go with the team that's played more games. But because we don't really know what Ohio State really 4-0. Yeah, I guess you got a sample size there, but it's not as big as a sample size you have for A&M. And you got to award the team that's played the longest. You got to award the team that's played.
I don't disagree.
It's out of their control.
So
it's out of their control. But I think they get a lot of props just for being Ohio State. They're Ohio State, so they win 4 games and they're automatically one of the top teams in the country. Okay, I guess.
I mean, Alabama's undoubtedly 8-0.
Alabama's played their season though.
Yeah, Notre Dame belongs up there.
Season. Yeah,
but
Clemson too. But Ohio State ahead of A&M.
Well, here's the interesting thing about the Ohio State Buckeyes. They have the Michigan Wolverines coming up. That is a game. That is a game they can lose. Michigan State.
They almost lost to Indiana.
They almost lost to Indiana. They almost lost to Penn State. I'm hearing all this crap.
I'm just saying, Ohio State's not as good as people think they are.
Well, and you hear all this crap about Texas saying, oh, they don't have that impressive win. Beating number 4 Florida was not an impressive win. And then they start talking about, oh, they only beat LSU by, 13 points. And Ohio State almost losing to Penn State's any better? I mean,
they almost lost to Penn State. Penn State hasn't won a fucking game. Sorry.
Wait, I've dropped the
sorry.
occasional F-bomb. It's okay. It happens.
But
I mean,
I'm a little bit pumped up. I'm not even an A&M fan, dude. But you play 4 games and you get a participation trophy, and you almost lose 2 of those games. Okay.
I don't know, man. I mean, Clemson,
Who'd they lose to? They lost to
Clemson,
number 1 Alabama, right? That was it.
That was their only
Number
loss.
1 Alabama.
Clemson
Wow.
just barely scratched by Boston College 34-28. So I don't want to hear crap about not having an impressive win.
Okay, yeah, they did.
And then
Clemson.
Clemson.
They didn't have Trevor Lawrence that game.
The only ranked team Clemson has played, the only ranked team they've played, Notre Dame, they lost to.
Well, that's the ACC.
Well, they beat Florida. I forgot Florida. They did beat Florida. But still.
That's the ACC. That's the path that Clemson always gets, though, because they're in the ACC, right? They're in a basketball conference. The ACC is a basketball conference. Clemson just happens to be, good enough to win their games, but it's a basketball conference. But yeah, Ohio State, I get it. They're usually a top team every year because they do play the full season and they do win. But to me, it's kind of like it's the same treatment. Ohio State and Bama, to me, they get the same treatment all the time. I'd agree.
Because Alabama plays up.
If Alabama lives up to it. Imagine if UT was even twice as good, or even half as good as any of these teams, they'd be getting even that treatment and then some.
They've been so crap for so long.
Dude, UT would get so much preference. They got a dang network. They got a network named after them. UT would get so much. If UT was in A&M shoes, Longhorn fans would be all over Twitter blasting it to the heavens. Longhorns fans are the absolute worst. If they were ranked number 5 right now behind Ohio State, they would be crying so hard. They'd be like me right now. How I'm going to battle for your A&M Aggies is how every single UT fan would be if they were in the same position. Can you imagine how obnoxious it would be if UT made the playoffs?
God, if they just had a decent
season. How obnoxious would it be?
They'll beat Iowa State and act like they won a natty.
Yeah.
They can't even beat Iowa State on a consistent basis.
But then those are the same people that want to talk about how annoying Aggie fans are. Aggie fans are I will say Aggie fans are definitely as I would say, like someone is a patriot for their country. Aggies are definitely they're a patriot. They're very patriotic towards their school. They're very loyal to their school. Okay,
I'd agree with that.
They're very loyal, and they have traditions, and they follow traditions, and they may be a little weird. You may meet an Aggie, and you're like, this guy's kind of off, but you respect him because he's a diehard fan. But UT, they've got they got a little bit of arrogance behind them that I don't see in Aggie fans. I really don't. Aggie fans could be very arrogant, but I don't see a lot of them. A lot of them are just like, yeah, we got to keep fighting. We're in the SEC. We get humbled every day in the SEC. SEC, every game's a grind.
It really is. When you look at their schedule,
grind, baby.
They still got
1 week in the SEC.
They still got top-ranked Auburn coming up.
Yeah, that's gonna be
That's
hard
gonna be a good game. Yeah. It's gonna be a good game. And then after that, they've got to beat Tennessee. Tennessee's always tough. I mean.
Yeah.
You don't give me this crap about strength of schedule, impressive wins. Look, dude, they've played Alabama. They've played Florida. They beat Florida. They played Mississippi State. They beat them. They played Arkansas. Beat them. South Carolina beat the crap out of them. LSU beat them. What more do you want, man? A win over Bama? Is that what it's going to take?
Yeah, you lose to the best team in the country, and then apparently you're number 5. Apparently you're number 5 if you lose to Alabama. And I guess Ohio State, they're this high up. Their best win so far is against number 12 Indiana, and they beat them by a touchdown. They've beaten 3 unranked teams and 1 ranked team at number 12, and that's it. And you're telling me they're better than A&M right now? I know you're not saying that, but
I'm not.
Come on.
I think
that's bad. That's bad to me. That's bad rankings.
I think the Aggies can legitimately take on Ohio State, Clemson, and Notre Dame, and they can beat Alabama. They got to play their best game. Like it's got to be
that would be hard.
Their best game. But I think that stands true for everybevery.
Everybody.
All 3 other teams, all 4
Alabama's
or 5 teams
just
in the running.
Always is.
I think it's going to take your best effort, no matter which team you are, to beat Alabama. Clemson seems to manage to be able to do it every couple years.
When they get a little bit of Deshaun Watson magic, or whatever they can get.
Trevor Lawrence
magic.
Is Trevor Lawrence out for the year? Am I mistaken on that? to figure this
actually, now we got to both look it up because
I can't remember. I remember he definitely missed a couple games. I don't know if he played in the Notre Dame game. He might have. I'm not sure.
Mark Jones and Kyle. Oh no, he's playing in Florida. He's playing in the Florida game.
Okay, so he's definitely playing.
He says, "Man, we are ready. We are ready to play." And the ESPN, the first article that pops up: Can Mac Jones and Kyle Trask hold off Trevor Lawrence? My answer is maybe. I don't know. Florida versus Clemson. That might be a good game.
Hey, that works.
That might be a good game. Kyle Trask is no joke.
Here's the thing. If Clemson goes in and loses to Florida, let's say Florida wins, A&M better go up to number 3, and Florida better go up to 4. If
Florida can't.
If
jump
Florida
A&M,
wins that game
way.
and jumps A&M,
Aggie
fans should riot.
They should,
and they probably will, dude. They probably will.
But they need to start being not full UT, but they need to start because I don't hear a lot. I mean, I hear you sometimes. I have a buddy that went to A&M, but a lot of the times Aggie fans are just like, yeah, we're root for our Aggies no matter what. It doesn't matter. But I think Aggie fans, this is the time to get greedy right here. This year, with everything going the way it's going, this is the time for Aggie fans to get a little bit greedy because if they get in, start shaking things up in the playoffs, who knows? One bad game if Alabama has one bad game in the national championship and A&M just happens to be the other team, hey, A&M is close, man. A&M is very close to a natty this year. I can feel it. It's right there.
Closest they've ever been, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I mean, it's funny because I didn't think about it at all. All throughout the year, I've just kind of been like,
them being number 5 really surprised me too.
They beat Florida, and I was like, heck yeah, A&M, good job. I was like, so
just kept winning.
It's like a proud grandpa. I was like, yeah, good job, guys, so proud. And then I blink, and all of a sudden they're top 5. And like in the thick of it, and Sean Shannon, we need to get him on the show to talk about this. He's telling me every week, he's like, yo, man, all they gotta do is this, and this. It's like, yo, if Notre Dame does this or that, the Aggies are in. And I'm like, nah, come on now. And then like you look into it, it's legit. Like all they gotta do is beat Auburn and get a couple things to fall their way, and they're in.
If they make the I'm going. Northgate's gonna be lit. I'm going to Northgate if they make the national championship. That place. Dude, that place is always rocking. Like, I mean, as a Texas State guy, Texas State, we have the square, right? And every school has their bar area or whatever. Texas State has the square. Now, if you talk to any other Texas State alumni, they'll brag about the square. They'll say, the square, let's go to the square, let's go to the square. They're diehard square goers. But I actually went to a real football college town party central. Northgate is what the A&M calls it. Northgate is there it's like a whole town, but it's like bars everywhere. That's Northgate. That's
so
what
like
A&M
6th
has.
Street, Aggie 6th Street.
It's like the square times 10. It's like 10 squares put into one. It's like it's a different animal over there, dude. And it's after a football game, after a win, that's those Saturday nights over there. It's just different. It's a different feel over there. It's different than Bobcat fans don't really have that feel because, Bobcats don't really win games. So it's a little bit different over there. Everybody gets excited about A&M football over there. It's a different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Bobcat football. I hate to end the show on a sad note.
I had to say it.
Do have to mention Cambrell Winters, such a sad, unfortunate incident. And Texas State sophomore. He was one of the better recruits from that class. I remember writing up the when he was signed, and just sucks to see that much talent, and not even talent, but just a young man go like that. But anyway,
Houston A-Leaf from the Houston area.
Yeah, a couple players. I think Jeremiah Haydell is from that school, which
it's a sad.
He's headed to the NFL, so that's exciting. And I think he's got a shot. He's just one of the better receivers at Texas State since I've been there.
Yeah, no, he's gonna get somewhere. He's gonna go somewhere for
sure. At least a roster. Anyway,
but that going back to that Winters kid, he was something special too. I'm not just talking about athletic ability. I know he was much more than that, but athletic wise, what he was at the corner position, I believe he was a cornerback. He was a stud, man. He was explosive. He was big. He was next level big. He was next level. He was legit. He was legit. So it's just like you don't understand sometimes. I don't know. A lot of people have. I had an old coach from. I don't know if it was COVID related or anything like that, but I had an old coach from Lumberton, Texas, that passed away today as well. So it's been kind of hard on
And
everybody. That
Liberty Hill lost their longtime AD and head coach.
And this guy wasn't even that. This guy at this guy that was in Lumberton, he was like our dad's age, dude. Like he wasn't even that old. So it's just really sad. It's one of those things you just don't understand. Like his son, I went to school with his son. Like his son was a little bit older than me, but it was just like he posted it, and I was just like, damn, like this world still sucks. You know, this world's not. You gotta hold your love. If we're 1203, we're funny and we fight sometimes or whatever. But I just want to say I love you, bro. I don't know. Just don't take any moment for granted. Don't take any like. I used to think it was weird to tell other guys you love them, but
yeah,
I say it all the time now. I love you.
Oh, 100%,
bro.
Love you too, man. And
because you never know.
I hope people that watch our show, and I hate to end this show at such a sentimental moment, but
yeah,
a lot of people that listen to our show, they know us, right? The people that listen to our show are friends and family, and we're hoping the show grows beyond that eventually. But right now, that's who our main listeners are, and we just want to let y'all know we love y'all. And 2021's right on the corner; it'll be a better year. I'm pretty confident. I could be wrong, but I say nothing.
You never know, but I hope so.
I hope so. Anyway, if you ever need a break from the real world, we hope the 1203 can give that to you. We will be back next week. So next week, 5 o'clock. Ideally, we start a little late today. Just a busy day, but
glad we got it in. I didn't think I was in one of those moods where I could have done it, could have not have done it, but
it feels good to do it.
The John Wall trade, I literally had to do it, man. I can't. It's weird. It's like everybody has some addiction. I don't know if this is like this for you. Maybe it is. But the podcast for me is like one of my addictions. Like I have to, if I'm not tweeting it, or sometimes tweeting it's not even enough. Tweeting it or posting it, if so much thing is happening in the sports world, and even now, like just the everyday, just stuff that's happening, I really don't have a filter. So I can't just, you know me, I can't just keep things locked away.
Yeah.
So I have to say it. And me just talking to myself a lot of the times, it doesn't really do it justice. So I do appreciate, it's kind of like podcasting is a little bit of my therapy because I get to work through things. So I do appreciate this time we do spend together doing the podcasting. It's really fun for me.
Absolutely. Same here for me, man. And we will, of course, be back next week with another fire episode of the 1203. Thank y'all for listening. See you next week.